At 6:30, Sports Day will have the latest sports news. Then at 7, The View from Washington in Beyond 100 Days.
The moment has come. England are about to take on Croatia in the World Cup semi-final here in Moscow, their biggest match for more than a quarter of a century.
There's nothing that competes with a World Cup. So, you know, for these players it's enormous, but let's hope they enjoy it. They have done so far, and just capture the moment.
We're live in Bristol, people gathering here like they are across the whole country. You can almost feel the hearts pumping, almost as loud as the music.
The day's other main stories on BBC News at 6. The first images have emerged from the hospital where 12 Thai boys and their football coach are being treated after their remarkable rescue from a flooded cave. At the NATO summit, President Trump criticises Germany, accusing Chancellor Merkel of being far too dependent on Russia. And a fine for Facebook for breaches of data protection law after details were improperly accessed by a third party.
And coming up in the sport here on BBC News, we'll have all the build-up ahead of that, a crucial semi-final involving England at the World Cup, and we'll have the latest on quarter-finals day here at Wimbledon.
Good evening from Moscow, from the Luzhniki Stadium, where England are about to take on Croatia in the World Cup semi-final. It's their biggest game for almost 30 years, and the atmosphere here is incredible. Thousands of England fans are in the stadium tonight. Thousands more decided to come here at the last minute, just hoping to get tickets. If they win, Gareth Southgate's men will make history as England's first team in a World Cup final since 1966. If they don't, it will be heartbreak for England, but what a tournament they have had. We'll be live inside the stadium in a moment, but first here's our sports editor, Dan Roan.
Time is coming up to 6:15, and our main story this evening, and a fine for Facebook for breaches of data protection law after details were improperly accessed by a third party.
Coming up in Sports Day on BBC News, we'll have all the build-up ahead of England's semi-final against Croatia, and we'll have the latest on what's been men's quarter-finals day here at Wimbledon, with all of the big three in action. Novak Djokovic.
President Trump has argued publicly with Chancellor Merkel of Germany about levels of defence spending and alleged Russian influence over Germany. The two leaders are in Brussels for a NATO summit, following which Mr. Trump will then be travelling to Helsinki to hold talks with President Putin of Russia. The president said it was totally inappropriate for Germany to pay Russia billions of dollars for oil and gas, while failing to spend sufficient money on its own defence. Our Europe editor, Katja Adler, reports on the tense opening.
That was Red Square at lunchtime. You can imagine what it's like inside the stadium right now. I will be back at 10. Will Gareth Southgate's team be through to the World Cup final? We will find out soon. That is all from Moscow for now. Here on BBC One, we join the BBC's news teams where you are. Bye-bye.
It's very funny.
I don't want to say bad things.
He's stirring things up.
I don't think he should be allowed in.
He's all right.
Pity he isn't negotiating Brexit for us.
American people's opinion matters, and that's who they chose.
Is he coming to the UK?
Follow every step of President Trump's first official visit to the UK. Starts tomorrow on the BBC News Channel.
Why do we love the bad guys in crime movies? How come fairy tale endings appeal to grown-ups? Can other people's stories feel just like our own? What if a trip to outer space is really through inner space? And what are the techniques used to terrify us? I'll reveal the hidden workings behind the films that you love in my new series. Mark Kermode's Secrets of Cinema starts Tuesday at 9 on BBC 4.
Hello, good evening. This is BBC News with me, Sean Lay. The headlines this hour. President Trump has caused consternation at the NATO summit in Brussels ahead of his meeting with Angela Merkel, saying Germany is totally controlled by Russia. Dramatic new pictures emerge of the operation to rescue 12 boys and their football coach from a cave in Thailand. It's been revealed they had to be heavily sedated to stop them from panicking. And in tennis, Roger Federer crashes out of Wimbledon after missing a match point in the third set against 8th seed Kevin Anderson. Well, with that Wimbledon shocker, as well as the build-up to tonight's World Cup semi-final, Sports Day will be here in just a few moments, and it's a packed programme from them. First, though, a look at what else is coming up this evening on BBC News. Millions of people will be watching the England match, but if you're staying with us, never fear, we'll keep you up to date with the goals and bring you reaction from fans around the country. At 7, in Beyond 100 Days, Donald Trump causes a stir at the NATO summit. We'll get the viewpoint from a former US Secretary of Defence. And later on, we'll be bringing you tomorrow's front pages in the papers. That's at 10:45 and 11:30 this evening, and hopefully with some very good news on the front page. That's all coming up ahead on BBC News. Now, though, it's time to join the Sports Day team.
Hello there, I'm Ollie Foster, live in Moscow. Welcome to this World Cup semi-final Sports Day. Here's what's coming up on the programme. We are all